Poland has simply become such a central piece of Europe, which is both safe and, on the other hand, offers some profitability, a good one. You can buy a house for $50,000 with a large plot. Where there is demand, there is growth in prices. Everyone knows and understands that Germans, Scandinavians are very actively buying. Americans are very actively buying in Poland. Recently, Israel, China, just a huge number of investors from there, and they are buying up entire houses. Such factors have a strong impact on price growth, including real estate in this country, because they simply push the economy.
Most people, when making important decisions in their lives, rely on their experience, their life history, or the experience of others. And we continue to delve into the topic of real estate in Poland with you, continuing to answer the eternal question of whether to buy or sell it today. I thought it was important to show the dynamics, prices over the past 5 years. That is, to understand the history, to figure out who we have been over these 5 years in the context of real estate in Poland.
In this video, I want to talk about this. All right? Let's talk about it. Let's figure out the dynamics of prices, the reasons for the increase, whether the prices, the real estate market, is whether this market is already overheated because there has been quite a significant price increase. Well, let's make some conclusion. Forecast in general, what to do with this information next, buy or sell.
Fortune telling Uten on AO coffee grounds?
Absolutely. Let's analyze the main reasons why real estate has become more expensive. Yes, and in general, not only in Poland, we see that over the last 5 years, real estate has become more expensive worldwide, in some places by 30%, in others by 40%, somewhere by 100%, and even more. In Poland, we see a 100% increase in some cities.
In 5 years?
In 5 years, yes. If we talk about cities right away, then in Kraków, by the way, an interesting fact. Not Warsaw, not the capital, but Kraków has increased the most over the last 5 years by 100%. And how is this
related? Or should we analyze further?
We will analyze. And these reasons are generally the same for each city. Warsaw has increased by about 75%, Wrocław by 70%. Lodz, Gdansk also somewhere up to 70%. Very, very close, yes. Still, the most expensive city at the moment is considered to be Warsaw. The average price for both new and secondary markets, what is super averaged, is 17,000 zlotys per square meter. Kraków is 15.5. Wrocław is 13.5.
Great. You've watched up to this point, which means you are really interested in real estate in Poland. Support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and leaving a comment below the video. And if you are interested in professional assistance with buying, selling, or renting real estate in Poland, you can contact us. You will find all the links below the video. And let's continue watching the episode.
Below the video, you will find all the links. And now, let's dive back into this thrilling episode, where every moment is crafted to captivate and entertain. Remember, you are not just a viewer. You are the heartbeat of this dynamic city, contributing to its vibrancy and spirit. Your presence and energy make this city a unique and lively place, shaping its character and future. The 3 cities are Gdansk, Gdynia, and Sopot, which are, so to speak, for the wealthy. That is, its luxury tourism. Yes, luxury tourism, just like that. The city was created for this. And there, real estate costs about 15.5 thousand per square meter, which is very difficult to buy, difficult to sell. In general, it's such a super complex city, really, for real estate. We rarely talk about Łódź, but Łódź is very interesting because in Łódź, 11,000 per square meter is the current price. For investments, yes, and for living in general, it's a very good place. And there, real estate is also growing just like in other cities.
Is there any city that's the cheapest? Or is it, again...
Among the large ones.
But in general,
well, of course. In general, overall, you can find an apartment for $50,000, even for $40,000, right, in small towns.
It would just be a town with like 20,000 people.
Well, 50,000 people. Well, yes, 50. These are really small towns, meaning far from regional centers. Well, of course, there are many like that. You can buy a house for $50,000 with a large plot, but it will be more like a semi-village. Do you know what that is? A settlement of urban type, SUT, something like that. Not a village, but not a city either, something in between. No, of course, there is a lot of affordable real estate, it's just that people usually flee from there, not the other way around.
You said it's 100% for Kraków. Let's discuss what these returns are related to. I'm particularly interested in your opinion on why Kraków gave 100% in 5 years, while Warsaw, for example, gave 75%.
There are generally 100 or even more factors that indirectly influence, but the most basic ones are inflation. It's the growth of wages and the workforce in general, the lack of land to build on because there is simply little such land. Or it's almost impossible to convert farmland into construction land and get permission, which takes about 7 years. Developers don't want to do this. Instead, they buy up all the available land and make plans for 20 years ahead. They plan to build gradually, and thanks to this, they maintain high demand. And where there is demand, there is price growth. That is, there are few places where construction is happening, and even where it is possible to build, they don't develop everything at once. And thanks to this, real estate prices are constantly rising.
Let's, the Aka brainstormer, have a battle. So here's what I think. Kraków, for me, it's like a story about ET, about corporation, and Google, Accenture. Yes, they're there. Motorola, I remember passing by them. A whole building in Kraków. Wrocław feels like students. Warsaw feels like everything at once. Both corporations and students. Well, it's such a large fundamental city. Gdansk, tricity, conditionally a reference to Odessa. And why Kraków gave 100%, I don't understand. Is there little land or did it just happen by chance?
Little land, that's right. Plus, don't forget, Kraków is a bit different for me. For me, Kraków is the tourist capital of Poland. And precisely because of this, there is always a demand for housing there. Few people bought there for their own needs. Most bought for investment purposes to rent out to tourists. I think that's the main reason. Plus, when people from Western Ukraine were leaving, they went to the southern part of Poland, not to Warsaw. To Warsaw, people from Eastern Ukraine went. A huge number of people also left and settled in those areas. The climate, I think, is a bit more familiar to Western Ukraine. For me, Wrocław is more IT-oriented. That is, most startups, the same big Google office is in Wrocław. Poznan is probably considered the most student-oriented city in Poland. Gdansk, yes, Gdansk is something like, well, like Odessa or something, not Donetsk, you know? Like a cold, slightly older Nice. So yes, there. In general, the entire Polish elite goes there. And most importantly, you know what Poles consider. You know, like, it's even more than Crimea. Poles believe that it's essential to go there in the summer. They love the cold Baltic Sea. They just love the prices there for... To relax somewhere near Sopot, you need to pay more than for an all-inclusive in a good 5-star hotel in Egypt. So while you're sitting in the cold sea, like, okay, in the summer you might go in, but in spring or autumn, if you enter that sea, it feels like your leg will break from the cold. The pain is terrible. It's just sadomasochism. And the Poles love it. They, but on the contrary, think like Ukrainians. They used to go to Crimea, yes, so it's something like that, something cool.
Any other factors? Let's try to expand people's reality map so they can make decisions based not only on inflation and average wage growth, but what else could it be?
There are a lot of different processes happening in each city. If you look at cities individually, sometimes like in Łódź, a great example, things change. A young progressive guy comes to power as mayor who attracts investments and knows how to smile. Property values start to rise for developers. Certain special conditions appear. Special conditions appear for businesses. And thanks to this, the city as a whole should somehow flourish and start thriving in 10 years. There are external factors that are very difficult to predict. That is, okay, war, COVID, we always say these are super important factors.
It's indeed a black swan that...
Yes, but on the other hand, we see now that a lot of foreign investments are coming to Poland from countries we couldn't even imagine would ever be interested in Poland. Everyone knows and understands that the Germans, Scandinavians are very actively buying. Americans are very actively buying in Poland. But recently, Israel, China, just a huge number of investors from there, and they are buying up entire buildings. Poland has just become, such a central piece of Europe which is safe, and on the other hand, offers some good profitability. And suddenly, Poland has become interesting to the whole world. Besides this, there are various types of additional funding from Czech America, or the USA, or from Europe. Something like nuclear power plants that will start being built in Poland. Something like some industrial centers. Something like Tesla decided to open a factory in Poland, or Mercedes decided to open a factory in Poland, or an airport that CPK, yes, Central Port. It will be an airport railway station, one of the largest or the largest in Europe.
It should certainly indeed, ideally, be in the top 10 in Europe.
Yes, and it should be like, a Central European port that will connect the whole world, so to speak. And such factors significantly influence the rise in prices, including real estate in this country, because they simply boost the economy. There is analytics that shows who is actually buying real estate. In 2022, 93% of all real estate purchases, these were Poles, individuals, Polish individuals.
90%?
93%. And in 2023, it's 95%. So only 5% are foreign individuals or also legal entities.
Okay. So it turns out Polish for Poles.
Polish for Poles.
That's how it is, right? And fries for the locals.
Land for the locals. Taking advantage. The main factor that generally influences price growth is if there is demand, the price rises. If there is no demand, the price doesn't move or the price falls. Makes sense, right? Demand is the most fundamental. Why is that? Because historically, real estate. In Poland, there is a shortage of new builds, and new builds are the driving force, in general, for the pricing of all other real estate. That is, the price of new builds affects the overall pricing of all other real estate. The secondary market always tries to catch up with the new builds. They go hand in hand. There's always some minimal price gap, but it's the developers, the price of land, and the demand for new builds that shape all the prices you see on the street.
Because any new build is kind of a cross-section for the conditional price of land that was bought a year, at most 2 years ago, you understand? The secondary market, this story, well, the houses there might be 5-10 years old, and the land was bought back then accordingly. The new builds really act like a locomotive, showing the current price, but the secondary market, because you are buying a home that already has renovations and already has some appliances, a sofa, and equipment. You kind of don't need to invest. It just comes in at 1,000 zlotys, cheaper on average, up to 1.5, 2.
Well, already with renovations. In fact, a new build with renovations will be 4,000 zlotys more expensive. Well, yes, by one, right?
Well, yes.
So this conditional reserve of $1,000, the gap, yes, it has always been there and still is. And this is something to pay attention to. Therefore, as long as developers are controlling the supply, and as long as there is demand for it, prices will continue to rise. Poland.
Let's summarize. We have analyzed the data for 5 years. If a short answer, then over the past 5 years, prices have doubled.
Roughly speaking, yes.
So roughly by 100%. But it's important to understand what happened during these 5 years. Let's remind people. The year 2019, everything was great. No one foresaw any trouble. And we catch the first hit, and it was COVID. If you remember, everyone was saying that prices would start to fall soon. I distinctly remember, at least in Kraków, in my circle, people were like, oh, that's it, the market will stop, the economy will stop, like, that's it, prices will fall.
My circle was saying prices will start to rise.
Imagine how different that is.
Rise because logistics will halt now, and say a phone or an oven, you'll be waiting not a month but 2 years for it from China. And that's why you should buy now, because there will be a shortage of goods and services on the market. And real estate, yes, of course, will also become more expensive, because building materials will also become more expensive. And that's why you need to act very, very quickly. I remember that we bought all the materials, construction ones, when we bought the apartment and the appliances. And they took up the whole apartment, these boxes. And our builders just moved them around because we thought, well, we had to get them because everything would become more expensive. And it did become more expensive, by the way. It became more expensive, but not immediately, after 2 years. Well, yes, that is The Polish economy is quite strong and stable. They have extra money to keep inflation at a level where it's comfortable for us so that we don't hypothetically strangle each other over a cup of coffee, and calmly went and bought it. This is the beauty of the balance between injecting money, like unnecessary leftist money, such as 800 plus for children, 300 zlotys for school and other things, and maintaining a stable dollar exchange rate so that, you don't take those 800 and triple the prices. The balance is maintained, and for that they deserve credit.
Then it started on a full scale for us. I think that I don't understand. On one hand, transaction analytics tell us that only 5-10% of all transactions are overall foreigners. So it's as if the full-scale war in Ukraine, it seems like it can't affect prices that much. But my gut feeling is that it affected the price not by 5%, but by 40%. What do you think?
I think that if in all other countries real estate prices have increased, then in Poland they would have increased too, despite the influx of 5 million extra Ukrainians here. It seems from Polish statistics that they completely downplay our contribution to the economy. There is an organization called BIK, the Credit Information Bureau, which includes everyone who has loans, any loans, including small household ones. And they made a forecast for inflation 21 on 20. The second year, because back then the war was not known yet, and the forecast was 19%. Yes, 19%. And then the war started. 5 million Ukrainians arrived, somehow supported this economy. According to Ukrainians, saved it from the crisis. Overall, after the COVID period, yes, inflation was 17%, meaning 5 million Ukrainians, everything they bought here, helped reduce this inflation by 2%. So overall, these are their data, and they are considered official. We take them as a reference. Therefore, overall, we probably didn't impact the economy that much. In general, everything is as it should be, and it will remain so.
Thank you for watching this video. I believe it was useful for you. And if so, support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Below the video, there is a comment section. Ask your questions, discuss the episode, and we will be happy to answer your questions.